We all know how it feels when people judge us by our looks. Clara Mayfield felt that sting more than most. Up on the auction block in Red Hollow, she saw folks whispering and pointing. Her dad's debts turned her into something to be sold, like a horse or a chair. Then Wyatt Callahan stepped up, a giant cowboy, super tall at 6'4", with hands as big as hammers. Everyone thought he'd toss out gold coins. Instead, he plopped his old leather boots on the table. "That's what I'm offering," he said. People laughed, but Wyatt just looked at Clara with eyes that saw something special, something nobody else noticed. That moment flipped her world upside down. Nobody in town knew why the scariest guy around would trade his boots for a girl nobody seemed to want. Before we keep going, tell us where you're reading this from. And if you like this story, hit that subscribe button because I've got something super cool saved for tomorrow. Red Hollow wasn't a place that was kind to weak folks. It had one dusty street with a saloon at one end and a church at the other. The town lived off cattle, silver dreams, and a tough rule. People judged you the second they saw you. The wooden buildings sagged against each other, paint peeling under the hot prairie sun, while the wind smelled of dust, sweaty horses, and broken hopes. Clara Mayfield learned this hard truth way before she turned 19. Every morning, walking to the general store, she heard whispers following her like pesky flies. "Poor thing," women would say from their porches, fanning themselves with napkins or whatever. "Plain as dry grass and nothing special." Men were meaner, looking right past her like she was a ghost or something to feel sorry for. She got used to pulling her tattered shawl tight, keeping her head down, pretending she didn't hear. But Clara heard it all. She heard Mrs. Henderson tell her daughter to stand taller or she'd end up like that Mayfield girl. She heard the banker's wife say some flowers just don't bloom. She heard the school teacher wonder why God made some people as examples of what not to be. The worst part? Clara remembered when life was different. Before her mom died of fever when Clara was 12, their little house was full of laughter and the smell of fresh bread. Sarah Mayfield was kind and pretty, turning heads with her gentle smile, and she loved her plain daughter with a big, warm heart that made Clara feel special. Under Clara's faded brown dress, tucked close to her heart, was her mom's silver locket. It was the only pretty thing she owned, but she never wore it where people could see. The locket's fancy designs glowed faintly through her thin dress, and sometimes when the whispers got too loud, Clara touched it, hearing her mom's voice. "Beauty isn't what people see outside, my darling. It's what's in your heart. You've got more beauty there than this whole town could ever get." But after the fever took her mom, Clara's dad, Thomas, fell apart. He used to be a good blacksmith, with steady hands and an honest name. Grief made those hands shaky, and his heart got desperate enough to bet money he didn't have at card games. Clara tried to keep their world together. She sewed clothes for money, sold her mom's jam recipes, and stretched their food so every meal was more hope than actual food. She watched her dad stumble home from the saloon, eyes empty with shame, and she forgave him over and over because he was all she had. The town noticed Thomas falling apart, but they noticed Clara's poorness more. Her dresses got more patched, her shoes had holes she hid with bits of leather, and her hair, which could have been nice with better care, hung limp from cheap soap and not enough good food. "That girl's headed for the poorhouse," the preachers. Wife told the miller. Or worse, with a dad like that drinking away everything. Clara learned to make herself small, moving through town like a shadow, speaking only when spoken to, and then super quietly. She accepted her life would be invisible and full of want, that she'd grow old caring for her broken dad until he drank himself gone, and then she'd face the world all alone. Out at the edge of town, where the prairie stretched wide and golden toward the mountains, Wyatt Callahan lived a different kind of alone. His ranch covered thousands of acres of the best grazing land around. The Callahan Ranch was famous from Denver to Santa Fe for tough horses and great cattle. Men rode days to buy his animals, paying gold without blinking because Wyatt's name was as solid as the mountains. But Wyatt wasn't a chatty guy or one for company. At 32, he was 6'4", with shoulders wide enough to pull a plow and hands that could calm a wild horse or knock out a guy just as easy. His dark hair fell past his collar and his gray eyes saw things people didn't want to show. He wore his loneliness like a shield, talking only when he had to, and trusting maybe two people in the whole world. Red Hollow folks respected Wyatt's money and feared his reputation, but they didn't get him. He built his ranch from nothing. After the war, working crazy long days and sleeping under the stars until he could build a cabin. That cabin grew into a big house with a wide porch and windows that caught the morning sun, but Wyatt filled it with quiet instead of family. There was a wife once, Rebecca, a sweet lady from back east who married him thinking the frontier would be a grand adventure. She died giving birth to their stillborn son 3 winters ago, and since then, Wyatt barely talked to God or his neighbors. His ranch hands were loyal guys who read his moods and how he stood or how long he stayed quiet. They respected his pain, knowing some hurts are too deep for words. But they also knew Wyatt was fair, paid well, and never asked them to do anything he wouldn't do himself. Old Pete, his foreman, had been with him forever and was probably his only real friend. Even Pete knew not to push when Wyatt got that faraway look, sitting on his porch for hours, staring at the grasslands like he was waiting for something that'd never come. The sad thing was, Clara and Wyatt didn't know how much they were alike. Both learned life could rip away everything you loved in a flash. Both got used to being lonely to survive a world that tested how much a person could take. Both built walls around their hearts. Clara's made of staying invisible. Wyatt's built from keeping everyone out. But even the strongest walls get cracked sometimes. Clara's invisible life started to end one Tuesday morning in late September when Sheriff Morrison knocked on her door, holding papers and looking sorry. Clara was fixing a tear in her dad's. Only nice shirt, trying to make it look good so he might get a job. "Miss Mayfield," the sheriff said, taking off his hat politely. "I'm here about your dad's debts." Clara stopped sewing, her hands still. She knew this day was coming, like a storm you see far off, but it still hurt when it hit. "How much?" she asked, her voice super soft. Sheriff Morrison checked his papers, though he probably knew the numbers by heart. $300 to the saloon, $200 to the store, $150 to Doc Williams, and $400 to Blackjack Murphy for poker debts. He paused, looking really sad. "That's over $1,000, Miss Clara. Your dad signed papers using your house as collateral, but it's not worth half that." Clara put down her sewing, hands shaking just a little. $1,000 was like $1 million to her. She made maybe $30 a month sewing and selling jam when things went well. "What can I do, Sheriff?" He shifted, looking uneasy. "There's the poorhouse. In Millerville." Or, he didn't want to say it. "Or what?" "Murphy says he'll forgive the debt if you work for him, but his kind of work." The sheriff's jaw tightened. "I wouldn't suggest that for any good woman." Clara, got it. Blackjack Murphy owned the saloon and the women who worked upstairs. That life would break her spirit, but it was still a life. "How long do I have to decide?" 3 days. Then Murphy's calling in the debt. He shrugged, helpless. "There'll be an auction, Miss Clara. Everything your family owns, including your dad's bond for his debts. And since you're his dependent," he didn't finish. After the sheriff left, Clara sat in her quiet house, listening to the wind shake the loose boards, feeling her mom's locket against her heart. She thought about her choices, which weren't really choices. She thought about her dad, passed out behind the saloon, not knowing he'd sold his daughter's freedom with his pride. She thought about her mom, who believed Clara's heart could light up the world. She thought about a lot, but never dreamed that in 3 days, a stranger would change her life with a pair of old boots. By noon the next day, everyone in Red Hollow knew Clara Mayfield would stand on the auction block Friday, her dad's debts like a rope around her neck. Women clucked their tongues, feeling bad but secretly glad their lives weren't that low. Men looked at this like a chance to buy something cheap, like at a cattle sale. Clara spent those 3 days getting ready, like she was planning her own funeral. She cleaned the house until it shined, packed her few things in her mom's old carpet bag, and wrote a letter to her dad she'd never send. Thursday night, she sat on her porch for the last time, watching the sunset and touching her mom's locket under her dress. Tomorrow, she'd face the people who always called her worthless, bidding on her like she was a lame horse. But tonight, With the big sky above and her mom's locket warm, Clara let herself remember what it felt like to be loved. Friday morning was so clear the mountains looked close enough to touch. Clara hadn't slept, but she felt calm about what was coming. She wore her least patched dress, a faded blue one that used to be her mom's, and braided her hair with steady hands. Her mom's locket stayed hidden against her heart, reminding her she'd been loved once. The auction block stood in the middle of Main Street, like a stage for misery. Built for selling cows, it had seen people sold too. Men paying off debts, women with nowhere else to go. The iron shackles on it were cleaned for the day, but still rusty from sad stories. Sheriff Morrison got there early to control the crowd, but by 9 a.m., half the town showed up. Some were just curious. Others came to watch suffering like it was a show. Men who planned to bid stood close, eyeing Clara like she was a thing to buy. Blackjack Murphy stood near the saloon steps, his gold teeth flashing as he grinned, smug as ever. At 53, he'd made his money knowing how people break and using it like a knife. He wore a fancy black suit that cost more than most families earned in a year, and his pale eyes scanned the crowd, pleased with himself. "Gentlemen," he shouted loud enough for everyone to hear, "we're here to settle a debt, fair and square. Thomas Mayfield owes money all over and his daughter's ready to work it off. Honest." The way he said honest made women clutch their shawls tighter. Doc Patterson, an old guy in his 60s who'd delivered half the town's babies, stepped up, looking uneasy. "Murphy, this ain't right. The girl didn't do anything." "Debt's debt, Doc," Murphy said, still smiling. "Her dad signed the papers, all legal. Besides, I'm offering her a job with a bed and food, more than most in her spot could hope for." Everyone knew what kind of job Murphy meant, but nobody dared say it out loud. In Red Hollow, a woman with no family or options had few paths, all leading to some kind of slavery. Clara walked down Main Street at exactly 10 a.m., chin up, holding her little carpet bag. She moved slow, choosing pride over rushing to her doom. The crowd got quiet as she came closer, their eyes picking apart her patched dress and plain face. She climbed the block's 3 steps without help, her mom's words in her head. "Walk like you know your worth, Clara. Don't let them see. You crawl." The auctioneer, Perkins, usually sold cows and tools. He fumbled his papers like he'd never seen them. "Ladies and gentlemen," he started, voice shaky, "we're here to settle Thomas Mayfield's debts through his daughter, Clara Mayfield." He cleared his throat. "Miss Mayfield is 19, healthy, and can do housework, cook, sew, and general work." The words floated like smoke from a fire. Clara stood still, hands clasped, while Perkins read boring legal stuff. She felt like she was watching this happen to someone else far away. "We'll start at $50, Perkins said. Murphy raised his hand right away. 50. Doc Patterson, looking mad, said 75. He wanted to bid just enough to keep her from Murphy, then give her real work at his house. 100, called Jake Morrison, the blacksmith's son, who'd been drinking all morning to get brave. His reasons weren't great, but better than Murphy's. 150, Murphy said, calm and sure. He knew he had more money than anyone. Clara watched the bids go up, like watching grain prices at market. These men weren't bidding on her, dreams or kindness. They wanted her work, her silence, her obedience. Doc Patterson tried again. 200. Murphy laughed, low and mean. 300, and that's generous for what's up there. The crowd shifted, uneasy. $300 was big money, more than most made in half a year. Doc's shoulders slumped. He couldn't match Murphy. "Going. Once?" Perkins called, sounding sad. "Going twice?" Then the crowd parted like water for a boat. Wyatt Callahan rode in on his black horse Ghost, the sun making long shadows behind him. He sat tall, like he was born in the saddle, but today he looked different, focused, like he had a mission. Wyatt heard about the auction last night when Pete mentioned it over ranch talk. Something about poor Mayfield girl getting sold to cover her dad's debts, stuck in his chest like a thorn. He'd walked his ranch all night wondering why this bothered him more than the usual town troubles. Now seeing Clara on that block, chin up, standing strong despite everything, he got it. She stood like his Rebecca did when things got tough, quiet, courage that people mistook for giving up. But Wyatt saw the truth. Clara wasn't quitting. She was enduring. He got off Ghost smoothly and walked to the block, boots hitting the dirt hard. The crowd went quiet, sensing something big, but not sure what. Wyatt wasn't a showy guy. In 3 years since Rebecca's death, he'd spoken at 2 town meetings, went to 1 funeral, and skipped every party. His showing up was like a storm. In winter, "What's the bid?" he asked, voice low but clear. Perkins stammered. $300, Mr. Callahan. From Mr. Murphy. Wyatt's gray eyes met Clara's, and for a second they just looked at each other. Clara saw something in his face she'd never seen before. Not pity, not greed, not disgust. She didn't know what it was, but it made her feel less alone. Without looking away, Wyatt unlaced his boots. They were good leather, worn 5 years, comfy like old friends, worth maybe $40. The crowd watched, shocked, as he pulled them off, and stood barefoot, setting them on the block like they were something precious. "That's my bid," he said simply. The silence stretched so long Clara heard her own heartbeat. Then Murphy laughed, sharp like breaking glass. "You're joking, Callahan. Those old boots against $300 in gold?" Wyatt turned to Murphy, moving slow, like a man who never backed down. "I'm dead serious. These boots walked every inch of the best ranch around. They've stood in mud, blood, and snow, and never failed me. I figure they're worth more than your gold, especially for what you plan to do with her." Everyone got what Wyatt meant about Murphy's plans, and that he'd just called out the most dangerous guy in town. Murphy's face darkened. "This is a legal auction, Callahan. You can't bid old gear against real money." "Perkins," Wyatt said, eyes still on Murphy. "Anything in the paper saying what kind of payments allowed?" The auctioneer fumbled his papers. "Well, no, sir. Just says fair compensation." "Then my boots are fair," Wyatt said. "Any man here knows they're worth good money and more. They stand for honest work and honest miles. Question does this town care about honest work or dirty gold?" Clara held her breath. This wasn't just about her, it was about what Red Hollow valued, Murphy's money or Wyatt's principles. Sheriff Morrison stepped up, sensing trouble. "Let's keep this peaceful, folks." But Wyatt was already turning to Clara, ignoring Murphy like he was a pesky fly. "Miss Mayfield," he said, voice soft, making her throat tight. "If you come with me, you'll have your own room, your own space, and your own choices. You can work if you want, rest if you need, and leave whenever you decide. That's my offer." Clara stared at this man who offered her something she never expected. Respect. Not a rescue, not pity, but real respect, given freely. "Going once," Perkins called, sounding braver now, like Wyatt's courage reminded him to be decent. Murphy started to argue, but Wyatt's hand rested on his gun, and Murphy decided. $300 wasn't worth testing Wyatt's quick draw. Going twice. Clara looked at Wyatt's boots beside her feet. They were worn but cared for, like everything about Wyatt, strong and steady. "Sold!" Perkins shouted. "To Wyatt Callahan! For 1 pair of boots and a promise of fair treatment." The crowd buzzed, but Clara barely heard. Wyatt climbed the steps, holding out his hand. "Miss Clara," he said, "if you're ready, I'd like to take you home." She put her small, rough hand in his big, calloused one, feeling something she hadn't felt in forever. Hope. The ride to Wyatt's ranch was quiet, but not awkward. Clara sat behind him on Ghost, holding the saddle, keeping space even though she trusted him to take her somewhere better. The prairie stretched wide around them, grass waving under a huge sky, and for the first time in years, Clara felt small in a good way, not a shameful one. Wyatt's ranch appeared slowly, like a promise coming true. First, sturdy fences showed up, then pastures with happy cattle and curious horses. Finally, the buildings. A big house with a wide porch, strong barns, and neat outbuildings, all built with care. The ranch gate was open, welcoming but solid, with a sign that read, "Callahan Ranch, Esta 1871, carved clear and proud." Clara stared at those words as they passed. This place had roots, history, something she'd never had. "Built it myself," Wyatt said quietly, his first words since town. "Started with a dream and a stubborn streak bigger than this prairie." Clara wanted to ask how one guy could make something so big from nothing, but her throat felt tight. Everything here screamed care, mended fences, painted buildings, even the dirt swept clean. This was a real home. 3 men came out of the main barn as they got close, moving easy but alert. Clara tensed, used to men meaning trouble, but Wyatt's voice was warm. "Pete, Charlie, Santos, meet Miss Clara." The oldest, Pete, with silver in his brown hair and eyes like a winter sky, took off his hat politely. "Miss Clara," he said like she was a real lady. "I'm Pete Donovan, foreman. These are Charlie Webb and Santos Moreno." The other 2 nodded, friendly but not pushy. Clara managed a small smile. "Nice to meet you. Pete's been with me from the start," Wyatt said, helping Clara off the horse. "Charlie handles horses, and Santos knows more about cows than anyone. They keep this place going while I act like the boss." His gentle joke surprised Clara. She thought, the guy who faced Murphy would be tougher, scarier, but here, with his people, Wyatt was different. His hands were careful as he helped her down, letting go right away so she didn't feel trapped. "Charlie, take care of Ghost," Wyatt said. "Santos, ask Maria to get the blue room ready." He turned to Clara. "Maria's Santos's wife. She runs the house and cooks better than anyone. You'll like her." Clara nodded, feeling overwhelmed by how easily these people worked together. With respect and kindness she'd never seen. "Come on," Wyatt said softly. "Let's see the house." The porch wrapped around the house, wide enough for chairs and tables, with carved railings that showed someone cared about beauty. The oak front door had shiny brass hinges. When Wyatt opened it and let Clara go first, she stepped into a world she'd only dreamed of. The main room was big but cozy, with a stone fireplace and windows letting in prairie light. The furniture was sturdy, not fancy, picked by someone who knew quality. Colorful blankets hung on plain walls and books lined shelves by the fireplace. "Rebecca picked most of this," Wyatt said, following Clara's eyes. She had good taste. His wife's name hung there, not awkward, but real. Clara got it. This house held happy and sad memories, and she was trusted to respect them. A small, lively woman with graying black hair and kind eyes came from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a clean apron. "You must be Miss Clara," she said warmly, her slight accent like a song. "I'm Maria Moreno. Welcome to our home. Our home, not Wyatt's, not the ranch's, but ours." Clara's throat tightened at being included so easily. "Maria, can you show Miss Clara to the blue room and help her settle?" Wyatt asked, but it felt like he was making sure she felt safe. "Of course," Maria said, smiling. "Come, Clara. May I call you Clara?" "Good. Let's see your room, then have tea and chat." Clara followed Maria up an oak staircase, her hand on a smooth banister. The upstairs hall had windows showing the ranch. Men moving cows, horses grazing, the sky stretching to the mountains. The blue room was at the front, with windows catching morning and afternoon light. Its soft blue-gray walls reminded Clara of dawn, and the furniture was simple but nice. A bed with a quilt, a dresser with a mirror, a table and chair by the window. What stopped Clara's breath was the privacy. This was her room, not a corner, or a floor mat, but a whole space just for her. She could close the door, arrange her things, think without anyone judging. "The washstand has fresh water," Maria said, pointing to a pitcher and bowl. "Extra blankets are in the chest. If you need anything, just ask. Wyatt said you should feel at home." Clara set her bag on the bed, struggling to find words. "I don't understand," she said. "Why is he so kind to me?" Maria's face softened. "Wyatt's a good man who's known pain. Maybe he sees your pain and wants to help. You've been hurt, haven't you?" Clara nodded, unable to speak. "Then you know something about suffering," Maria said. "Wyatt lost his wife 3 years ago, giving birth to their baby, who didn't make it. He's been lonely, even with us around. Maybe you two can help. Each other find peace." Maria's simple words hit Clara hard. She'd spent so long feeling like a burden that being helpful seemed impossible. "What have you always been?" Maria asked. "Poor, plain, forgettable," Clara said, more honest than she meant. "And what did your mom say about you?" Maria asked softly. Clara touched the locket under her dress. She said I had beauty in my heart, but I don't think that's what people care about. Most people are silly, Maria said firmly. Heart beauty is the only kind that lasts. Looks fade, but kindness, courage, loyalty, those grow stronger. Rest now, Clara. Tonight we eat as a family and you'll see you're not the same girl from that auction block. That girl was trapped by other people's debts and meanness. This girl, standing in her own room in a house where she's welcome, can be anyone she wants. After Maria left, Clara sat on the bed, looking around her room. Her room, she touched. The quilt, the dresser's smooth wood, and stood at the window, watching the men work below. It felt like someone else's life. She unpacked slowly, placing her mom's recipe book by the window, her extra dress in the lavender-scented dresser. Her mom's locket she lifted out, fastening it around her neck to shine in the light. In this house, with kindness she never expected, she could finally wear her mom's gift openly. The silver threw tiny rainbows on the walls, and Clara started to believe she might have a future worth living. Clara woke to sunlight and the strange sound of her own calm breathing. For the first time in years, she slept all night without worrying about her dad, debts, or food for tomorrow. It felt like a treat. A soft knock woke her fully. "Clara," Maria called. "I brought you something to wear if you want." Clara opened the door to see Maria holding a blue calico dress with tiny white flowers, simple but pretty, the kind Clara always admired but never owned. "I made this for Rebecca," Maria said, "but she never wore it. I think it'll fit you, and the color's great with your eyes." Clara's hands shook as she touched the fabric. "I can't. It was hers." "She's gone, and you're here," Maria said kindly. "Rebecca would want it to make someone happy, not sit in a box. Besides, Wyatt asked me to make sure you feel at home. This dress will help." The dress fit like it was made for Clara, bringing out her eyes and flattering her without being flashy. In the mirror, she saw a new person. Not changed, but shown. This was who she could have been without poverty and shame hiding her. Breakfast was in the kitchen, a bright room with yellow walls and windows facing Maria's herb garden. Wyatt sat at a long table, sipping coffee and reading a letter. He looked up as Clara walked in, his face showing surprise, maybe approval. "Morning, Miss Clara," he said. "Sleep well?" "Better than ever," Clara admitted, sitting where Maria pointed. "Thank you." The simple talk felt huge to Clara, who was used to starting days with worry. Here, mornings were just nice chats and biscuit smells. "I thought I'd show you the ranch today," Wyatt said, folding his letter. "Get you used to how things work if you're up for it." Clara nodded, excited. She'd never seen a real ranch up close, never understood how people managed cows, horses, and endless land. They started at the stables, where Charlie was working, with a young horse that pranced nervously. Clara was scared of horses. They were so big and wild, but Charlie's calm made her feel better. "This one's got spirit," Charlie said as the horse calmed down. "But spirit ain't mean. Show them you're safe and they'll work with you." Wyatt watched Clara watch Charlie. "Want to try?" he asked. Clara wanted to say no, but Wyatt's tone wasn't daring her. It was just offering a chance. "I don't know horses," she said nervously. "Neither did I at first," Wyatt said. "Charlie, bring out Sunshine. She's super gentle." Sunshine was a golden horse with kind eyes. Wyatt showed Clara how to move slow. Let the horse sniff her hand and talk softly. "She likes you," Charlie said as Sunshine nuzzled Clara's shoulder. "Animals know kind hearts." The compliment hit Clara hard. She was so used to hearing what she wasn't that being told she had something good felt huge. From the stables, they went to the cattle pastures, where Santos checked the herd. Clara learned about cow breeding and grazing, how to tell if animals were happy or stressed. Santos worked with quiet skill, and Clara saw running a ranch took brains, not just muscle. "Santos came from Mexico 10 years ago," Wyatt said as they walked. "He knows more about cows than I'll ever learn, and he's taught me tons." Clara heard the respect in Wyatt's voice, so different from Red Hollow's strict rules, where respect only went to the top dogs. "How do you keep track of it?" "All?" she asked. "All the details?" Wyatt smiled, his first real smile she'd seen. Start with what matters, keeping animals safe and healthy. Everything else comes from that. And you don't do it alone. Pete knows stuff I don't. Santos sees what I miss. Charlie gets horses better than I get people. Together, we make it work. The morning showed Clara the ranch's web of jobs and people. Everyone had a role, every animal had needs, every piece of land needed care. It was complicated but not messy, tough but not too much. At lunch, Maria served fresh bread, cold beef, and garden veggies. Clara asked about the ranch's history, how Wyatt built it from nothing. Started with $100 and a bad horse, Wyatt said, eyes far off. Worked for other ranchers by day, built my cabin at night, took 3 years to buy my first cows, 2 more to grow the herd. Weren't you scared? Clara asked. Starting with so little? Wyatt thought hard. Terrified. But being scared of failing felt less bad than being scared of never trying. I had to prove something to myself. His honesty made Clara's chest tight. She knew that need to prove you were worth something beyond your pain. That afternoon, Maria taught Clara to make bread, guiding her hands to knead and shape it. Bread's honest, Maria said. You can't rush it or fake it. It needs patience and care, and it feeds people you love. That's satisfying. Clara found peace in the work. Her hands, always busy with worry, felt useful shaping dough. The kitchen smelled warm and promising, and Clara got what Maria meant, about satisfaction. As evening came, the men came back, and the house filled with cozy sounds of people resting. Clara helped Maria cook supper, feeling useful in a new way. At home, her work was desperate. Cooking scraps, sewing rags, stretching, everything. Here, her work added to plenty, not just holding off disaster. Supper was in the dining room, lit by oil lamps, full of easy talk. Pete shared work stories. Charlie talked about young horses. Santos gave news from his family in Mexico. Clara mostly listened, but when Wyatt asked her about Maria's bread lesson, she joined in without feeling shy. Clara made the bread tonight, Maria said proudly. First time, and it's perfect. The simple praise warmed Clara's cheeks. But nobody acted like it was a big deal. They just expected she could do it. After supper, Clara helped Maria clean dishes, working together like friends. Through the kitchen window, she saw Wyatt on the porch watching the sunset. He does that every night, Maria said, seeing Clara's gaze. Watches the sky, maybe talks to Rebecca about his day. Clara felt a pang, not quite jealousy, but a wish to be remembered. So tenderly. Did you know her well, Rebecca? Oh, yes, Maria said. She was like sunshine, always happy, always finding joy. She loved this ranch as much as Wyatt, maybe more. She said the prairie talked to her about growing things and seasons. She'd have liked you, Clara. She believed in seeing the best in people, helping them be who they're meant to be. As Clara got ready for bed, she stood at her window, watching. Wyatt below. The blue dress hung in her wardrobe, and the locket caught the lamplight. She left it on her nightstand to shine in the morning. Tomorrow would bring new lessons, new chances to prove she deserved this kindness. For the first time, Clara fell asleep excited for tomorrow, not scared of it. Outside, the prairie stretched. Under stars and coyotes called across the wide, beautiful emptiness that didn't feel empty anymore. 3 weeks later, Clara found Wyatt's secret while cleaning his study. Maria asked her to dust the bookshelves and tidy papers that piled up like fall leaves. The study was Wyatt's private space, full of ranch records and maps, so Clara worked quietly, respecting it. Then she saw a small wooden box open on the desk. Inside, on faded velvet, was a simple gold wedding ring. Wyatt's father's, Maria, had mentioned once. Wyatt couldn't wear it after Rebecca died. Now Clara understood why. The ring wasn't just love. It was the scary risk of loving someone so much, knowing they could be gone, leaving only memories and an empty ring. She was closing the box when Wyatt's voice startled her. I keep meaning to put that away, he said, not moving to take it. Clara turned, heart racing at being caught. I'm sorry. I wasn't snooping. Maria asked me to clean and it was open. No need to be sorry. Wyatt said, taking the box, touching the ring carefully. It was my dad's and his dad's. Rebecca said it was waiting for the right time to matter again. His voice hid pain, but Clara heard it. She knew hidden hurt well. She sounds wise, Clara said softly. Too wise to marry a stubborn rancher with more scars than brains, but she did anyway, Wyatt said, closing the box. Sometimes I wonder what she saw in me that I couldn't see. Clara looked at the man who saved her from shame, gave her a home and purpose, and wondered how he doubted himself. Maybe she saw what I see, she said before she could stop herself. Wyatt's gray eyes met hers, intense. What's that? Clara blushed but didn't look away. Kindness, strength that doesn't hurt others, seeing value in what people miss. The silence was heavy with possibilities. Clara realized her gratitude for Wyatt was turning into something deeper, scarier. Horses galloping up broke the moment. Wyatt looked out the window, tense. Stay inside, he told Clara. Lock the doors and find Maria. From the window, Clara saw 3 men get off their horses by the porch. They moved with a mean swagger, not like the usual friendly visitors. Clara found Maria in the kitchen, and they peeked through curtains as Wyatt met the men. Pete and Santos came from the barn, looking ready but calm. Who are they? Clara whispered. Trouble, Maria said grimly. That's Jake Morrison, the blacksmith's son. The other 2 work for Murphy. Clara's blood froze. She hoped Murphy was done with her when Wyatt's boots won, but he didn't give up easy. They watched Jake talk fast, waving his hands while Wyatt stayed calm. The talk was too far to hear, but it was clear Jake wanted something Wyatt wouldn't give. This is my fault, Clara said, hands shaking on the windowsill. They're here because of me. No, Maria said firmly. They're here because they're fools who think they can scare Wyatt on his own land. They'll learn. The men argued a bit more, then Jake and his guys rode off, Jake shouting something that made Wyatt tense, though he stayed cool. When Wyatt came inside, his face was blank, but Clara saw anger underneath. What did they want? She asked. Scared she knew? Morrison thinks the auction wasn't right, Wyatt said carefully. Says Murphy might pay more for your work. The polite words hid Jake's crude message. Clara sank into a chair, her new confidence crumbling. I should leave, she said quietly. Go where Murphy can't find me. I won't bring trouble here. You're not going anywhere, Wyatt said, firm. This is your home now. Nobody, Murphy, Morrison, anyone, changes that. Maria nodded. Where would you go? Back to town where they wait? To a place with no one you know? No, Clara, you belong here. But Clara couldn't shake the fear that she was putting everyone in danger. That night, she barely ate supper and walked alone in Maria's garden, where neat rows of veggies and herbs gave her peace. The garden was like the ranch, wild but cared for, strong but gentle. She was looking at Maria's tomatoes when Wyatt found her. Nice evening, he said, standing by the fence. Yes, Clara said, her mind on Murphy. Wyatt, I know what my being here might cost you. If Murphy makes real trouble, Clara, Wyatt's voice stopped her, calm but strong. Do you trust me? The question was simple, but the answer wasn't. Trust meant opening up, risking hurt. Clara trusted her dad, and he sold her. She trusted hard work would pay off, and ended up on an auction block. But looking at Wyatt's steady eyes, his patient strength, she knew some risks were worth it. Yes, she said, I trust you. Then trust me when I say this ranch can handle whatever Murphy brings. Trust that you're safe here, that you belong, and I won't let anyone take you. His words made Clara's throat tight. Why? She asked. Why do you care what happens to me? Wyatt looked from her to the prairie. For 3 years, I thought my best days were gone, that I'd just keep the ranch going and not hurt anyone. Then you came, and I remembered what it's like to protect something precious, to look forward, not back. He paused. I'm not saying this to pressure you, Clara. You don't owe me anything, but you being here changed something in me I thought was broken. Clara felt her heart race, her walls cracking. Nobody's ever fought for me, she said softly. I don't know how to be worth fighting for. You don't need to know, Wyatt said. Just be you. That's enough. More than enough. They stood quietly as the sun set, painting the garden gold and pink. Clara felt something shift inside, a belief she might deserve this kindness. The next morning, Dr. Patterson rode up after breakfast, his medical bag in hand, looking worried. "Miss Clara," he said, tipping his hat. "Sorry to barge in, but I wanted to check on you." Clara invited him for coffee, thankful, but curious. "I heard about Morrison's visit," Doc said. "News spreads fast. I want you to know your legal rights." "Legal rights?" Clara asked. "The auction was real, but it didn't make you anyone's property," Doc said. "You're a free woman who chose Wyatt's offer of work and a home. If anyone says different, they're wrong and breaking the law." Clara realized she wasn't sold like a cow. She was saved and given a choice. It made her stronger. "Also," Doc said, "I told Sheriff Morrison about Murphy's plans. Any trouble he causes you or this ranch will face legal action." "Thank you, Dr. Patterson," Clara said. "I don't know how to repay you." "No need, my dear," he said. "Doing right is its own reward." As he left, he smiled. "You look different, Miss Clara. There's light in your eyes, confidence in how you stand. This place is good for you." Clara stood on the porch, looking at the ranch, her sanctuary. Trouble might come, but she wasn't alone anymore. Wyatt came from the barn, and her heart lifted seeing him. Whatever happened, she'd face it with the strength she found here. Her locket caught the light, and she touched it, remembering her mom's words about heart beauty. Maybe it was time to let that beauty show. October brought cool mornings and bright light that made the mountains seem close. Clara had been at the ranch 6 weeks, settling into a happy routine. She woke with the sun, helped Maria cook breakfast, learned ranch work in the mornings, and did house chores in the afternoons. One afternoon, copying her mom's bread recipe for Maria, Clara saw faint pencil marks in the book's margins. Her mom's writing she'd never noticed. "For Clara when she has her own home," one note said by an apple jam recipe. "My darling girl will make this better than me." Another by Christmas Cookies said, "Love is the most important ingredient." Clara's hands shook as she found more notes her mom left, like she knew Clara would need them. The best was on the back cover in different ink. "Clara has the strongest heart I know. She'll survive what I can't and find happiness I only dream of. She's my greatest creation." Clara was wiping tears when Wyatt came to the kitchen, boots dusty, hat in hand. "Maria said you might need help with heavy stuff," he said, then saw her crying. "You okay?" Clara showed him the recipe book, reading her mom's words. Voice shaky. Wyatt listened, his gray eyes soft. "She knew you'd find them when you needed them most," he said. "That's a wise mom." "I wish she could see me now," Clara said. "I wish she knew her faith in me was right." "Who says she can't?" Wyatt said. "I talk to Rebecca sometimes when I'm alone on the range, about horses, cows, sunsets. Maybe your mom hears you when you cook her recipes and feel her love." His simple faith touched Clara. She'd seen death as silence, but the idea her mom might know her happiness was comforting. That night, Clara cooked a special supper from her mom's recipes, honoring her mom and the people who gave her a home. The kitchen smelled of herbs and fresh bread. Drawing everyone in early, Wyatt had been teaching Clara to read tougher books during their porch talks. What started as ranch records turned into poetry and newspapers. He explained big ideas patiently. "You've got a sharp mind," Wyatt said one night, reading a tricky article about government. "You see things most miss." Clara blushed but felt confident. "I never got to learn before. Dad needed me to work, not read." "What would you have studied?" Wyatt asked. Clara thought hard. "Maybe medicine, like Dr. Patterson, or teaching, to help kids find what they're good at." "Those are great goals," Wyatt said. "It's not too late. There are books, courses you could try." The idea she could choose her future felt huge. Her life used to feel stuck, but now she saw possibilities. Their quiet night was interrupted by a horse galloping up. Clara tensed, thinking of Morrison, but relaxed, seeing Charlie. "Boss!" Charlie shouted, jumping off his horse. "Trouble at the south pasture! Someone cut the fence and 50 cows are scattered." Wyatt stood, all focus. "Any sign who did it?" "Hoofprints toward town, 3 horses. Fresh," Charlie said, meaning it wasn't random. "Pete and Santos are out gathering the herd," Charlie added. But boss, this feels like the start of something bigger. Clara saw Wyatt's mind. Working. Calculating. This was a planned attack to cost them time and peace. I'll ride with you, Wyatt said. Clara, stay near the house. Don't answer the door if anyone comes. Clara's stomach twisted, knowing this was about her. This is because of me, isn't it? Wyatt faced her, serious but kind. This is because some men think they can take what's not theirs. They're wrong, and they'll find out how wrong. After Wyatt and Charlie left, Clara and Maria sat in the kitchen, trying to keep busy while worrying. Maria taught Clara a tricky embroidery stitch, but neither focused. Has this happened before? Clara asked. Not exactly, Maria said. Wyatt has enemies. Success makes some jealous, and kindness makes others think you're weak. Murphy's both jealous and dumb, which makes him dangerous. Maybe I should leave, Clara said, scared. Go where my past can't follow. Maria put down her needle and looked at Clara. Do you want to leave? Clara thought about her blue room, the joy of baking bread, horses nuzzling her, talks with Wyatt. She thought about belonging somewhere, being valued for who she was. No, she said. I don't want to leave. This is the first place I've felt I belong. Then you stay, Maria said, and we protect what matters. The men came back after midnight, tired and mad. They got most of the cows, but it'd take days to fix everything. Murphy's message was clear. He wasn't done. At breakfast, Wyatt planned more security. Pete'll sleep in the barn and set night watches. I told Sheriff Morrison about the fence, but I don't expect much help. What about bigger authorities? Clara asked. Someone stronger than the sheriff? Wyatt smiled at her smarts. There are, but it takes time, and Murphy knows it. He's trying to wear us down with small attacks. So what do? We show this ranch isn't an easy target, Wyatt said. We write down everything, protect what's ours, and wait for Murphy to mess up big enough for the law to get him. Clara admired Wyatt's plan, but saw the stress on everyone. Edgy. Ranch hands, Maria jumping at noises, Wyatt's tense shoulders. That afternoon, helping Maria jar veggies, Clara decided something big. I want to learn to shoot, she said. Maria looked up from a tomato. A gun, rifle, or pistol? Whatever Wyatt thinks is best, Clara said. I want to protect myself and this house if I have to. Maria nodded. Smart. A woman should defend what she loves. When Clara told Wyatt, she thought he'd say no, worried about guns being dangerous. Instead, he thought it over. Ever used a gun? No, but I'll learn. I don't want to be helpless if trouble comes. Okay, Wyatt said. We'll start with safety and work to shooting. But Clara, carrying a gun changes things. People expect you to use it. You ready for that? Clara thought about what she'd gained. Dignity, love, hope, then about men who wanted to take it. Yes, she said. I'm ready. The next morning, Wyatt taught her guns like he taught her horses. Patient and thorough. They started with safety rules, then handling and cleaning. Only when Clara was comfy did he let her shoot. Her first shots missed everything, but Wyatt stayed encouraging. Shooting's like anything. Takes practice. You're not aiming to be a gunfighter, just good enough to stay safe. By weeks. And Clara could hit a can at 20 steps most times. More than that, she felt calm and confident, knowing she had choices, not just relying on others. It unlocked something in her spirit, making her stand taller, speak clearer, face challenges with hope. You're getting tough, Wyatt said one evening as they practiced. I almost feel bad for anyone who underestimates you. Clara smiled, but got serious. Wyatt, when Murphy's trouble is done, what's my place here? Am I a worker who can leave? A guest staying too long? A charity case? Wyatt put down his rifle, facing her fully. What do you want your place to be? Clara looked at the man who showed her kindness, who taught her she was valuable. The answer was clear, but saying it took all her courage. I want to be someone you choose to keep, not someone you have to protect. Wyatt's smile was warm, full of promise. Clara Mayfield, you stopped being a duty the moment you made this place feel like home again. The question isn't if I want you to stay. It's if you're willing to build something lasting with a stubborn rancher still learning to be happy. Clara's heart raced with hope, but before she could answer, horses galloped up. This time, it wasn't trouble. Sheriff Morrison rode in with 3 deputies, badges shining, and Dr. Patterson with 2 town men looking serious. "Wyatt, Miss Clara," the sheriff called, getting off his horse. "We need to talk. Murphy made a mistake that changes everything." Sheriff Morrison got off his horse carefully, like he carried big news. His deputies stood behind him, and Doc Patterson and the townsmen stayed on their horses, faces heavy with secrets. "What mistake?" Wyatt asked, his hand on Clara's shoulder, a protective move that felt natural now. "The kind involving fake papers and false debts," the sheriff said, pulling a leather folder from his saddlebag. "Murphy got sloppy, bragging when drunk, about making papers look real enough to trick a desperate man." Clara felt faint. "Fake papers?" Doc Patterson spoke, his voice steady from years of hard truths. "Miss Clara, your dad never owed Murphy $400. The poker debt was made up, along with papers giving Murphy rights over you." The words hit like a punch. Clara sat on the porch chair, mind spinning. "But the other debts, the saloon, the store, Doc Williams, those were real?" "About $300 total," Sheriff Morrison said. "A lot, but not enough to force you onto that block." Clara stared at the papers on the porch table, her mom's locket heavy. "So I was never legally anyone's. The auction was based on lies." "Exactly," Doc said gently. "Murphy faked it all to get you. He's been planning this for months, maybe longer." The truth made Clara sick. Murphy didn't just use her dad's gambling. He set her up, hunted her, pushed her to a place with no choices. "Where's Murphy now?" Wyatt asked, voice sharp, making the deputies nervous. "That's tricky," the sheriff said. "He skipped town last night. Nobody knows where, but he made threats that worry me." "What threats?" Murphy said. "If he couldn't have Clara legally, he'd take her another way," the sheriff said. "Said your ranch is too far out for anyone." To hear scream. Clara's hands shook as the danger sank in. Murphy didn't stop when Wyatt's boots won. He just changed plans. The fence cutting, the visits. It was all to wear them down for a bigger attack. "How long's he been gone?" Wyatt asked. "Since last night," the sheriff said. "And there's more. We found papers showing Murphy's working with bad guys from Denver, men who hurt people for money and don't care how." Clara realized she wasn't just in danger. She was being hunted by men who lived for cruelty. "What can I do?" she asked, surprised her voice was steady. Doc leaned forward. "Legally, you're free. Always were. Murphy's lies cancel any claim, and the territorial law wants him for forgery and plotting. But that doesn't stop his hired men if they're coming," the sheriff added. Clara thought fast, her 6 weeks at the ranch teaching her to plan, not just react. "How many men might he have?" 3 or 4, maybe, the sheriff said. "Murphy's got money, but not enough for an army. They could show up today or next week, depending on his plans." Clara looked at Wyatt, seeing him plan defenses for her. Maria, the hands, the ranch. "There's another choice," she said quietly. "I could leave, go far where Murphy can't find me." The silence was heavy. Everyone knew running might be safest, but it would cost so much. "No," Wyatt said firmly. "You're not running. You did nothing wrong, and you shouldn't live scared because of one man's obsession. But if staying puts everyone at risk, we handle the risk," Wyatt cut in. "Together. This is your home, Clara. These are your people. We don't ditch family when trouble comes." Family. The word carried weight, a promise Clara never dared hope for. She looked at the sheriff's honesty, Doc's kind strength, the deputies choosing justice over gain. "What's your advice?" she asked the sheriff. "Short term, we guard the ranch and watch for Murphy's plan," he said. "Long term, we build a case to lock him up forever. Forging papers is a big crime, and the law doesn't like it." Doc added, "I talked to town businesses. Your dad's real debts can be paid off easier, and folks will give you time to do it." "Why would they help?" Clara asked. Murphy's actions shocked good people, Doc said. His threats, his tricks. It showed everyone who he really is. "They want to help you, Clara, to make things right." Clara's eyes stung at the town's support. People who once whispered about her now stood up for her. "There's more," the sheriff said, checking his notes. "Murphy's papers show he's done this before, tricking other women, ruining families." The news hit Clara hard. She wasn't his only target. just part of his cruel game. It sparked anger that burned away her doubts. "How can I help stop him?" she asked. "Write down everything," the sheriff said. "Every threat, every visit, every detail about your dad's real debts versus Murphy's lies. More proof makes our case stronger." As the men left, Wyatt talked quietly with the sheriff, their faces grim. Alone on the porch with Wyatt as the sun set, Clara felt angry and unsure, not relieved by her freedom. "You knew, didn't you?" she said suddenly. "You thought the debt papers were fake." Wyatt gripped the porch railing, choosing words carefully. "I had a feeling something was off. Murphy doesn't give credit to men like your dad, and the amount seemed too perfect to force hard choices." "Why didn't you tell me?" "I wasn't sure," Wyatt said, pausing. "And I was scared if you knew you were free, you might leave." Clara stared, processing his words. "You thought I stayed because I had to?" "I didn't know," Wyatt said honestly. "I hoped you cared about this place, about us, but I wasn't sure. I was selfish, wanting you to stay, even if it meant not telling you." Clara felt a mix of anger, understanding, and relief. "The worst part of my life wasn't being poor or lonely or even that auction," she said. "It was never knowing if anyone would choose me if they had a choice." Wyatt faced her, eyes reflecting the sunset. "Let me finish," Clara said, raising her hand. "You were scared I'd leave if I was free, but Wyatt, I'm free now, and I'm choosing to stay, to fight for this life we're building. Doesn't that tell you how I feel?" The silence was full of possibilities. Wyatt's voice was rough with feeling. "I love you, Clara. I didn't plan it, but watching you with the horses, facing your fears, I fell hard." He gripped the railing. "I was scared you'd see you deserved better than a beat-up rancher with too many scars." "And I love you," Clara said simply. "Not because you saved me or I owe you, but because you see the real me and love her." The words broke something free in them. Wyatt stepped closer, his hands gently holding her face. "When this mess with Murphy's done, I want to ask you something proper, with my dad's ring and a future for us both." Clara smiled, certain. "When it's done, I want to say yes." Horses galloping up broke their moment. Pete and Santos rode in fast. "Boss," Pete said, jumping off, "we found tracks. 3 or 4 horses from Millerville. They stopped a mile out, watching the house." Wyatt turned protector instantly. "How fresh?" "Last few hours," Pete said. "They're keeping back, but they're scoping us out." Clara felt a chill. Murphy's men were here, and danger was real. "Okay," Wyatt said, calm but firm. "Pete, you and Charlie take night watches. Santos, secure the animals. If shooting starts, we don't want cows running loose." "What about me?" Clara asked. Wyatt looked serious. "You've learned to shoot, ready to use it if needed?" Clara thought of her new life. Dignity, love, a future, and the men who wanted to steal it. "Yes," she said. "I'm ready." The next hours were tense, preparing for trouble. Guns were cleaned, positions planned, supplies ready. Maria worked calmly, like she'd faced this before. "Have you?" Clara asked, moving furniture from windows. "A few times, back when this was wilder," Maria said. "Wyatt's not the only one who can fight." Near midnight, the ranch was quiet but on edge. Clara sat in the study, rifle ready, watching the front. Her freedom should have changed things, but the danger was the same. Men with guns wanting to take her from her home. The attack wasn't what they expected. Instead of hitting the house, the men went for the barn, where horses screamed and wood splintered. Gunshots followed. "They're after the horses," Wyatt said, grabbing his rifle. "Without them, we can't chase them if they grab you." Clara saw their plan. Cut off the ranch's strength. "I'm coming," she said, checking. "Her gun!" "Clara, it's dangerous," Wyatt said. "Those are my horses, too," she snapped. "This is my home. I'm not hiding while others fight for it." Wyatt saw the strong woman she'd become, not the scared girl from the block. "Stay close," he said. "If I say run, you run." They crept to the barn where chaos echoed. Clara's heart pounded, but her hands were steady. She prayed to her mom's memory for courage, touching her locket for luck before stepping into the fight for her family. The barn looked spooky in the moonlight, filled with horse cries and crashing stalls. Men's angry voices showed their plan wasn't working. Wyatt signaled Clara to stop while he checked things out. Through the barn doors, lantern light flickered, showing 3 men trying to free horses. "Charlie's in there," Wyatt whispered, pointing to their friend hiding behind a barrel, rifle aimed but unable to shoot without hitting horses. "Can we go around back?" Clara asked. "There's a back door, but it's open ground," Wyatt said, thinking fast. "If they see us, we make sure they're too busy to notice," Clara said, an idea forming. "What if I distract them at the front so Charlie can move?" Wyatt looked torn between pride and worry. "What distraction? What if they see me?" Clara said. "Draw them out where we're stronger." "No way," Wyatt said fast. "You're not bait." "Not surrendering," Clara said. "Just showing up to pull them out, then leading them into a trap." Wyatt shook his head, but she saw him thinking it over. It was risky, but it gave them control. "There's got to be another way," he said. Before Clara could answer, Pete shouted a warning and gunfire flashed from another direction. A 4th man was coming, trying to surround them. "They're boxing us in," Clara said. "Pete's cut off, Charlie's stuck, and we're in the middle." Clara knew what to. "I'm showing myself," she said, checking her rifle. "I'll draw them to the house where Maria can cover me. That frees you to help Charlie and Pete." "I won't let you face them alone," Wyatt said. "I'm choosing this," Clara said, voice strong. "It's our best shot to save everyone." Wyatt saw her courage. "Stay moving," he said. "Don't let them trap you. Your job is to distract and stay alive till we get to you." Clara nodded, understanding the danger. "Wyatt, if something happens—" "Nothing's happening to you," he cut in. "Having you here, loving you, reminded me what I'm fighting for. You gave me my future back." His words tightened Clara's throat, but there was no time for goodbyes. She touched her locket, stepped into the moonlight, and called, "Looking for me?" The barn went quiet as the men noticed her. "That's her," one hissed. "Murphy said she'd run if we gave her a chance." Clara walked slowly to the house, staying just out of reach. She heard the men leave the barn, focused on her now, not the horses. "Come on, girl," one called. "No need to make this tough. We're just picking up what Murphy paid for." His cruelty fueled Clara's strength. "Murphy's money came from lies," she shouted. "I was never his." "Don't matter," the first man said, getting closer. "A deal's a deal, legal or not." Clara reached the porch, turned, and raised her rifle. 3 men came through the moonlight, guns drawn but not aimed, thinking she was easy prey, far. "Enough," Clara said, voice strong, stopping them. "Now, miss," the leader said, "fake nice. Don't be foolish. We're pros. This can be easy or hard, but you're coming with us." "The only place I'm going," Clara said, "is back in my home." The standoff stretched. Clara saw Wyatt moving in the shadows, her plan working. She just needed a few more seconds. "Your home?" The leader laughed, cold. "Girl, you're Murphy's now. This ranch, these people, they're just in the way." The word owner froze Clara, but it also made her surer. "I belong to myself," she said, "and I choose to stay with people who respect that." The leader's patience snapped. "Boys, we're doing this the hard way." The men started to spread out, but gunfire exploded from everywhere. Wyatt shouted, "Charlie now!" Charlie shot from the barn, dropping 1 man. Pete fired from the house's side, breaking a lantern, darkening the yard. Clara backed up the porch, ready to shoot if needed. Maria moved inside, set to defend the house. "Santos!" Wyatt yelled. "Cut off their escape!" The fight was quick but fierce. Murphy's men expected an easy grab, not a smart defense. 2 were down fast, and the 3rd yelled, "Don't shoot! I'm done!" Wyatt stepped out, rifle on the last man. "Drop your weapons, knees!" The man obeyed, his confidence gone. "This was just a job," he said. "Murphy hired us to get the girl, said she was his legal." "Murphy lied," Wyatt said coldly. "About the debt, the law, everything. We didn't know." The man whined. Clara stepped forward, rifle ready but safe. "Where's Murphy?" "Don't know," the man said, scared. "Said he'd meet us in Denver after we got you. Talked about taking you to California, where the law can't touch him." The thought chilled Clara. Murphy planned to drag her far from help. "What about other women? He's done this before, hasn't he?" "That's not my deal," the man said. "I just move people." Sheriff Morrison and his deputies rode up, hearing the shots. "Looks like we've got a witness to Murphy's crimes," the sheriff said, pleased. As the deputies handled the men, Clara stood in the yard where she almost got taken, looking at her sanctuary. Her locket caught the moonlight, and she thought of her mom's faith in heart beauty. Tonight, she learned she could fight for love, for her home, for herself. Wyatt came close, rifle down, eyes still scanning. "It's over," he said. "Murphy's done, and so are his plans for you." Clara nodded, relieved but tired. "What now?" "Now," Wyatt said, taking her hand, "we build the future we talked about together." As they walked to the house, Clara realized the girl from the auction block was gone, replaced by someone stronger, surer of her worth. The change hurt, scared her, but it was needed. Tomorrow would bring new fights, legal battles, fixing damage, living without Murphy's shadow. But tonight, with people who fought for her, Clara finally knew what home meant. 3 weeks later, Clara stood in her bedroom, wearing a green silk dress that cost more than anything she'd ever owned. Maria insisted it was perfect for tonight. "No modesty tonight," Maria said, buttoning the dress. "Tonight you show Red Hollow who Clara Mayfield is." The dress was simple but stunning, flattering Clara's figure and catching the light. But more than the dress, Clara saw a new woman in the mirror, one who stood tall, met her own eyes, and wore confidence like it was natural. Tonight was Red Hollow's harvest dance, a big party with music, food, and everyone around. Clara never went before. Her dad's mess and her own place in town made it impossible. But now, everything was different. Murphy got caught in Denver 3 days after the ranch attack, now facing charges for fraud, conspiracy, and kidnapping. His hired man spilled everything, showing Murphy tricked at least 6 other women. The untouchable man was looking at decades in prison. Clara's place in Red Hollow changed fast. People who whispered about her plainness now praised her bravery. Women who pitied her wanted to be friends. Men who ignored her showed respect. Dr. Patterson led a town effort to clear her dad's real debts, with folks donating to help. They raised more than needed, giving Clara the extra to start fresh. "The town owes you an apology," Doc said, handing her the money. "We should have seen Murphy's cruelty sooner. We should have protected you." Clara took the apology and gift kindly, knowing forgiveness was for her peace too. Holding grudges would let Murphy keep hurting her, even from jail. Now, ready for her first big-town event as a free woman, Clara felt excited but nervous, like she was about to perform. The dance was her chance to show she belonged, that she had a future and people who cared. Wyatt got ready like it was a big meeting, bathed, shaved carefully, wearing a dark suit that made his gray eyes shine. "You look good, Cowboy," Clara teased in the parlor. "You haven't seen yourself yet," Wyatt said, his voice making her heart skip. In the mirror, Clara saw what he meant. The green silk turned her from pretty to amazing, bringing out her eyes and showing curves hidden by work clothes. But the biggest change was how she carried herself, knowing her worth, letting strength and kindness shine together. A knock came at her door. "Clara," Wyatt called. "Carriage is ready." Clara touched her locket, her mom's words in her head. "Beauty's in your heart." Tonight, both kinds of beauty worked together. She opened the door, and Wyatt's face when he saw her made Maria's fussing worth it. "Clara," he said softly, "you're incredible." His honesty warmed her cheeks, but she met his gaze without shyness. "You're pretty great, too." They walked downstairs, Wyatt's arms steady. Maria waited in the parlor with a small box. "Rebecca wanted you to have this," she said, showing a silver and turquoise bracelet. She said it'd bring luck to the next woman who loved this ranch like she did. Clara's throat tightened as Maria put the bracelet on. It felt like a welcome to the family. She'd be happy to see Wyatt smile again, Maria said, eyes wet. Happy that love came back to this house. The ride to town was full of easy talk, Wyatt telling her about people and traditions, but Clara focused on him. Weeks of danger and trust showed her Wyatt's depth, kind but strong, wise enough to know real partnership meant choosing each other freely. Tonight wasn't just her town debut, it was showing everyone they were equals. At the town hall, lights glowed, and fiddle music floated out. Carriages and horses crowded around, and well-dressed folks chatted in groups. "Ready?" Wyatt asked, helping her from the carriage. Clara looked at the hall, knowing some there watched her auction, whispered about her poverty. But she wasn't that scared girl anymore. She'd found her strength, fought for her happiness, earned her place. "I'm ready," she said, taking Wyatt's arm. "Let's show Red Hollow what we're made of." When they walked in, the room went quiet. Not rude, but stunned. The woman on Wyatt's arm wasn't the frightened girl from the block. Clara felt their eyes, but instead of shame, she felt strong. They were finally seeing her. Mrs. Henderson, who once used Clara as a warning, came over smiling warmly. "Miss Mayfield, you look amazing tonight. I hope you'll forgive how we overlooked you before. We should have seen your worth." Clara shook her hand kindly, knowing this was as close to sorry as she'd get. "Thank you, Mrs. Henderson. I appreciate that." Her words opened the door, and people came to make up for years of ignoring or hurting Clara. She took their kindness with grace, not gloating or pushing them away. Doc Patterson brought her punch, smiling. "You've got everyone talking, miss." "Clara, Red Hollow hasn't seen a change like this since Widow Morrison married that preacher." "Thank you, Dr. Patterson," Clara said. "Your help meant everything." "Nonsense," he said. "We just did what was right too late. You found your place, didn't you?" Clara looked around, seeing Maria laugh with Santos, Charlie talk horses, Pete tell old ranch stories, and Wyatt, steady beside her, who saw her worth when nobody else did, who loved her for who she was. "Yes," she said, "I have." The music started again, and couples headed to dance. Clara got nervous. She'd never learned to dance. Poverty. Stealing that chance. "I should warn you," she told Wyatt. "I've never danced like this." "Then I'll teach you," Wyatt said, kind. "Like I taught you to shoot and ride, everything you thought you couldn't do." He led her to the dance floor as a waltz began, eyes on them. But with Wyatt's steady presence, Clara felt safe, not exposed. "Follow me," Wyatt said, hand on her waist, guiding her. "Trust me." And the music. Clara thought dancing would be hard, embarrassing, but it was just moving together, trusting Wyatt's lead. His patience made it easy, and she relaxed into the music, his hands gently showing her the steps. Other couples danced, but Clara only saw Wyatt, their world just the space between them. "You're a natural," Wyatt said as they turned. "You just needed someone to show you what you can do." His words brought tears, his belief in her making. Her feel unstoppable. "You make me feel like I can do anything." "You can," Wyatt said seriously. "You proved it standing up to Murphy's men, choosing to stay and fight. You prove it every day being you." As the waltz ended, Clara realized this wasn't just a dance. It was a public promise that she and Wyatt were together, real, accepted by everyone. Sheriff Morrison came over, looking pleased. "Miss Clara, Murphy's trial is set. 3 months from now. The law's sure he'll go down for everything." "What about the other women he hurt?" Clara asked. "They'll get justice," the sheriff said. "Murphy won't hurt anyone." Again, he paused. "I owe you an apology, Miss Clara. I should have checked those debt papers closer." "You couldn't know," Clara said gently. "Murphy hid his lies well. What matters is justice now." As the sheriff left, Wyatt squeezed her hand, his look, making her heart race. "Clara," he said, "I need to ask you something." He pulled out the velvet box with his dad's ring, the one waiting for the right moment. The room quieted as he opened it, showing the simple gold band glowing in the lamplight. "Clara Mayfield," Wyatt said, voice clear, "you taught me. Some things are worth fighting for. That love can survive anything, and two people choosing each other can build something unstoppable." Clara's heart pounded as she realized what was happening, the moment they'd waited for. "I'm asking you to marry me," Wyatt said. "Not because I saved you or you owe me, but because I love you completely, and I want to spend my life proving you made the right choice." Clara looked at the ring, then Wyatt's eyes, seeing love and hope. The room watched, but she only thought of her journey, from the auction block where she felt worthless, to now with the best man she knew asking her to be his partner. "Yes," she said, loud and clear. "Yes, Wyatt Callahan, I'll marry you." The crowd cheered, but Clara barely heard, focused on Wyatt's joy as he slid the ring on her finger. It fit perfectly, like it was meant for her. "It's beautiful," she said, meaning more than the ring, its promise of love that lasted through pain. "It belongs on you," Wyatt said, voice rough. "It's been waiting like I have." Doc Patterson congratulated them first, shaking Wyatt's hand and kissing Clara's cheek. "This is what we needed, love and goodness beating cruelty." Mrs. Henderson came next, excited. "Miss Mayfield, soon." "Mrs. Callahan, you've taught us grace and strength. This wedding will be the talk of the town." Clara panicked at the idea of a big wedding, but Wyatt sensed it. "We want something small," he said. "Family and friends.